Okay, let's get more now on the Republican National Convention now underway in North Carolina. And I'm joined by Rob Arlett, chair of Trump's campaign. Thanks so much for being with us, Rob. First, I'm just going to ask you how you think the RNC is going to compare to the DNC just before it. You know, the DNC really tried to showcase diversity and inclusion. The Republicans might not have that, but it's not necessarily something their supporters really wanted to see anyway, correct?
I think what you're going to see this week down in Charlotte is something very, very different than what the Democrats did in Wilmington this last week. And I think what you're going to see with President Trump and the Republicans here in America is one of optimism, one of hope, and real change. And I think that's something that we didn't see last week in Wilmington, in my home state here in Delaware, this last week with Joe Biden and the Democrats. What we saw at their convention was one of division, one of divisiveness, and I think one that continues to disrupt and destroy our cities, I think, throughout our nation. And I think that's what we saw. To put it with Joe Biden's words specifically, he believes that this election cycle is about lightness and darkness. And I think those were his words. I think President Trump has a different view, a different lens. He has a lens of 100% optimism for all of Americans. And I think that's the difference. He is truly the president of peace. He is truly the president of prosperity for all Americans. And I think that's the difference between President Trump and the Republican Party and Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. One of optimism versus one of fear and pessimism.
Okay, let's look then quickly at some of the, the issues that the Trump administration has really had to deal with, over the last 4 years and how they might be judged going into the election, not least, of course, the coronavirus. Over the course of the years, Trump not the months actually, Trump changed the branding of the virus from coronavirus to China virus. It was something he was dismissive of at the onset and said it might prove fatal to 60,000 people. Now we've got 177,000 dead. Do you think it will work against him, though, or do you think his supporters still generally think he managed it the best it could have been handled?
I think he's actually done a very good job, considering the fact that China lied about this, as did the WHO. And I think we have to not forget that. He's calling it the China virus because that's really where it came from.
Then why did he congratulate the Chinese president on his management before the virus really hit U.S. shores?
Yeah, and I think that's based on the information he had at that time. But today, we now know better that China actually lied about it and stopped the travel within their country, though they allowed international travel to leave their country and really spread the virus. So, but getting back with President Trump and I think his handling of the pandemic here in America, and I think for around the world, I believe he's done a very, very good job of handling the parameters and really safeguarding the American people. Let us not forget that we live in America and we are a free society. I think that we shut down the virus very early. President Trump shut down the travel to China back in January when the Democrats said he was crazy for doing so. And I think, again, he was a leader, came out very early and was very cautious about this, shut down, by and large, our economy and the American people for several weeks as we learned more about this virus. And now we know how to handle this virus, I think much more so today than we did back in February and March. And I think President Trump will go on record as being somebody who has done very good with this pandemic as compared to Joe Biden and Barack Obama with the H1N1 virus under their reign. So I think we should have a little comparison, right, with how President Trump handled this as compared to others.
Gotcha. Okay, last issue then. I mean, the president has had some issues with, ex-employees and even family members coming out, to scorn him. And in just the past few days, a tape of his sister was released. She's a federal judge who really had nothing flattering to say. And then to have Kellyanne Conway resign after a tweet from her daughter saying that this presidency destroyed her family. Ultimately, though, is that kind of negligible stuff that people aren't that interested in anyway?
I don't think so, because in the end, those personalities or those little, I don't know what you might want to call them, those little incidences really don't affect the American people. I think people are focused on who's going to be the best person to represent them and their families and their homes. And again, I think President Trump is that person. President Trump is the person that is focused on providing peace, and is a president of law and order, and also prosperity. He's going to bring back and build back up this economy for all Americans, unlike the Democrats and their history of pandering to different buckets of people. President Trump is focused on all Americans, and I think he will certainly be the person to be voting for come November. And I'm very, very confident he will certainly be reelected on November 3rd for a second term for the American people.
Great to speak to you. Thanks so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.